What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Quadcast, the show where we get real, get raw, and get loud about mental health, substance use, and the fight to take our lives back.
Each episode, we're cutting through the stigma, dropping knowledge, sharing stories, and bringing the heat with guests who have lived it and aren't afraid to talk about it.
So turn it up, lock in, and let's break barriers, spark change, and build a community that refuses to stay silent. You're tuned into the Quadcast, and let's get into it.
You can find us on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, or email us. The Quadcast is always looking for new guests, whether you're individuals that have experienced it, you're in law enforcement, treatment programs, nurses, doctors, or anyone that just has something to say. Come share your story with us on mental health or substance abuse.
Warning, there's cussing in this video. If you don't like swear words, well, you're
watching the wrong damn show.
Yeah. So in the UK, how is the drug aspect? Like, is it how much is there? Like, is it like the US? Like, we have drugs everywhere.
Are we talking about legal drugs or illegal drugs?
Illegal drugs this time.
Yeah, so I mean, with the illegal drugs, I mean, cannabis is, everywhere. Everywhere, everyone will take it. There is, you can get a prescription for it now in some places. But I think that's the issue with cannabis. A lot of people will use that to cope, to help them sleep or stuff like that. But you have got the flip side that every drug is addictive. And with that, if you've got that addiction to cannabis, then you've got the side effects that come with it. You've got the paranoia. You've got that, and you're constantly paranoid. And if you're already dealing with like depression or anxiety or anything like that, that's going to make that 100 times worse. If you're constantly doing that, we've got, cocaine can be a one that's everywhere at the minute, and I've seen it myself working in the homeless hostels as well. Smack and crack and heroin and stuff like that's still quite big. And it is big among like the homeless community. And I think in a way that's, and I'm not making an excuse for it, but in a way that's to help sort of like, they're going to use that to numb the pain of one, of feeling the cold outside, or two, the situation that their life is, and they're just numbing that pain completely. And
Sure.
Again, I put it down to the government. If the government was more proactive than reactive in regards to homelessness or mental health, the issue with drugs wouldn't be as bad as what it is now. That's
Absolutely.
my personal opinion. But yeah, the drugs can be quite bad. And again, it's people that are suffering with mental health, and it's people that are suffering with like homelessness, because they're not getting that support. They're turning to these things to try and numb their minds, numb their body, numb how they're feeling. And that's in turn, it's a vicious cycle. It's causing more issues.
Absolutely. I've said that time and time again, even, looking at the issues here, a lot of, homelessness, I've been talking to some legislation aspects around here, and, they're pushing homelessness, and they're pushing drug induced homelessness. And I'm like, if you guys would sit back and look at it, like, homelessness is contributing to the drugs.
Yep.
Because they don't have anything else to do. If we would combat homelessness, if we would combat mental health, we can combat drug addiction. We can, the amount of drugs that are being circulated, we can combat a lot of this, and we would be helping the fact more so than just contributing and continuing to live and react to it, as you mentioned. So that aspect is pretty much hand in hand from there to here.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do for, like, how is the legal system over there towards drugs?
I mean, to be fair, for the most part, and I think it's the justice system as a whole. I think it's quite lax, unless you're a big time drug dealer. That's you're dealing to like an entire town or anything like that. There, it's quite lax. If you're caught with weed, unless it's a massive amount of weed, you'll not get anything. You'll get maybe a slap on the wrist of caution, stuff like that. But and that would be the same with, like, you'll not get much if you've only got like one bag of coke. I don't think there's much apart more from like a slap on the wrist or a suspended sentence or community service, and it's really, really lax. And I think that's the justice system as a whole. Seems to be really, really laxed, and I think that's down to the overcrowding in the prisons. So we've got a huge overcrowding issue in the prisons, and I think that's why it is quite laxed. I mean, I've seen I've seen someone that ended up raping a child, for example, and I've seen them only get 7 years, and it's like, why? I mean, if you look at other countries when stuff like that happens, they get a lot more. I mean, you go to jail in like one of the Middle Eastern countries, you put your feet up on the table or a chair, that's a sign of disrespect, and you go to jail for that. Right. And it's like, over here, it's like, no, I think our whole like legal system is just very lackadaisical. It's very, very laid back, and it's not strong enough.
Absolutely. Ours is the same way. I sit back most of the time and I look at it and I'm like, why do we even have one?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we have people out here that are abusing children, and, they're getting very minimal sentences still. But we have people that are still in prison for dealing weed years ago, and now we've legalized marijuana. But we have people in jail or prison for dealing weed for years and years and years. But yet we have people out here on the street dealing fentanyl and selling fentanyl and every other kind of drug, or abusing anything, the system, and they're getting just a slap on the wrist or a year, 2 years, and it's like, we're not even trying to fix it.
Yeah, it's not a deterrent, and that's the issue. People think, oh well, I could just do a year and still come back out and do the same thing and just hope I don't get caught. It's not a deterrent at all. So it's you just need to be more proactive. If it was a harsher sentence, other people would then think twice, or that same person would then think twice. So yeah, it's not a deterrent. It doesn't really stop anyone. So it's a big issue, sort of like in the US as well, by the sound of it, and at the same as the UK.
What we're discussing is it's going hand in hand from your side to ours, and it's a different aspect, obviously, but it's the same.
It's the same the same things happening.
Yeah, same issues. So let's talk about the Fynix Project a little.
Go on then.
Let me get my screen pulled up here to where I can share it here. So I pulled up the website.
Yes.
If you want to point me in directions to go and just kind of go over what the Fynix Project does, what you have to offer, what's on the website and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm on my phone at the minute, so it's really, really small. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
It's the same.
I'm on the home page right now.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got workshops. You'll see like our staff workshops, our normal core workshops as well, and then obviously we've got collaboration workshops too. So our staff workshops, so we like to support staff as well. So whether that be them suffering from burnout, whether that be dealing with challenging behaviours. So we'll do quite a lot of different stuff. We need to make sure that we support the staff. So, like you see there, our hold the line. So that's de-escalating and managing different behaviours. So I know from both sides. From I can be difficult when I was suffering with my mental health. I could be difficult, but then working in the homeless hostel as well, I know how to manage them difficult behaviours. So we put a workshop together for that, and then to help the staff like understand the trauma. So our under the surface workshop, to help them understand the trauma, to help the staff understand why people react the way that they react when they're struggling with mental health, and really how to, rather than saying, don't do that, if someone's doing something that they shouldn't do, or tell them to calm down. Don't tell them to calm down. There's other ways to go about that.
Yeah.
So it's giving the staff that understanding as well. And again, burnout's huge, especially among the NHS and among a lot of charities who are, they're given a lot and not getting much back. So it's about, keep protecting the staff, to allow them to put boundaries in place to stop them getting burnout, so they still have the ability to give as much care and support as they possibly can do, because it's like the old saying goes, you can't pour from an empty glass.
Absolutely.
That's how the old saying goes. So that's getting the staff to understand what boundaries that they need to put in place. By all means, people always do go above and beyond, but there is times where people give far too much and they don't take that time to relax, and they'll do far too much, but they'll carry all of that home with them, and they'll have that in their heart, they'll have that in their brain, and it's just about having that boundary so you can still give 100%.
Sure.
And again, calming the chaos. So that's more for the manager. So that's about, after the chaos and stuff like that, how, and again, with like after it kicks off too, it's just how to calm stuff down and how to regulate everything again, how to regulate your own emotions after you've had a difficult encounter. And again, how the manager just like make sure that everyone's okay. Make sure that all the staff are okay. Make sure that they're not going to carry that home with them and cry about it later on when they get home, because it's playing over and over in their head. So we do like to do stuff with staff as well, and that's because at the end of the day, if I can instill my knowledge and what I've learned over the years to the staff to help them support people, then that's going to help them, and that's going to indirectly allow me to help more people as well.
Sure. So how do you run these workshops? Are they in person or are they by video?
No, they are in person. I personally feel that you get more of an impact by doing things in person than on video. So we do have the option of doing them online if needed, but I personally will prefer to do them in person. It is something that we are going to be looking at later on in the year. We're going to have try and get facilitators throughout the UK. All these facilitators will have lived experience, because that is a prerequisite of mine. I said anyone coming into the business will need to have that lived experience, because that goes with everything that we stand for.
Sure.
And then if we've got the facilitators dotted around the UK, they've got the same experience or similar experience to what I have, and they've got the ability to go and deliver them workshops in person. So we wouldn't need the online aspect at all.
Sure. So if this, and this is just me thinking outside the box here,
Mm-hmm.
if there was somebody in the U.S. interested in this, this could be held by video.
It could be 100%. I'll say maybe in a couple of years' time we may have facilitators in the US.
Sure.
But that's big picture plans. But I want to make sure that this is accessible for as many people as possible. So if the only option that we have is for online over video, then by all means, I'm not going to turn anyone down for that. My sort of plan for this has always been to make it accessible as much as possible. So that's why when it comes to our pricing aspect, so businesses have a fixed price, but with charities, we always say that we will work around the charities' budgets because we know that charities have a lot of red tape and they struggle with budgets, etc. And funding. So we'll always work around charities. And then we want to start doing community groups for free. So that's, and some people look at me and say, well, why are you just like doing it cheaper for charities and doing it free for like individuals and stuff like that? I said, because I want to make it accessible. Support shouldn't be out of reach. So that's the way that sort of the business is sort of set up.
So how long, like the staff workshops, how long are these workshops? Like,
so
if
the workshops are 8 hours.
8 hours.
Yeah, so they can be split. If it's needed to, if we don't need to go in depth, it can be condensed to 4 hours if need be. But ideally, if you want the staff to get the most out of it, I always say that, let's do 8 hours. We can split it over 2 weeks or 2 days, or we can split it over a couple of sessions. That's absolutely fine. But if they want to get the most out of it, I say the full 8 hours, it could be like a full day. But yeah, 8 hours, or at the very, very minimum, we can condense it to 4 hours.
So are each of, like, Hold the Line and Under the Surface, they are individual?
They're all individual ones, yeah. Yeah. So we go really, really in depth with each one. It's not going to be a little 1 hour session. We go really, really in depth and just making sure that they understand every aspect of why people, if it's difficult behaviors, why people do that, what not to say, what to say, how to protect yourself, how to protect them. We go through every section in so much detail. So they've got all the knowledge and the practical tools that they can take away that day. And I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it within like a 1 hour because they wouldn't be taking much away. I say my main goal is to make sure that they take away as much as possible and they've got as much knowledge and as much practical tools as they possibly can after they go away from one of our sessions.
So on your supporting staff section, what's your pricing like for businesses? So
for businesses, if they wanted one of our staff, so we could facilitate up to about 30 members of staff. So normally it would be about £1,200 for a full day. And that's for all the staff and management as well, or $650 for half a day. Again, if they wanted multiple, we look at things slightly differently. But yeah, that's what the price is for businesses. Now with charities, that will be completely different because again, we work alongside their budgets and we need to make sure it's accessible for as many people as possible.
So, and you said £1,200 for each module, for the 8 hour module?
Yeah, so say they wanted to do Hold the Line, they had 30 members of staff that wanted to do that course, then that would be £1,200, and then all 30 members of staff can get that course.
Okay.
And I'll run it through them all.
I was converting £1,200 to US dollars.
Okay.
So everybody doesn't have to do the conversion. That's $1,654 in US.
Yeah.
I just trying to make sure people understand.
People know.
Yeah. And for me to even know. So
Yeah.
so for
I
you,
would say if it's charities in the US, again, we look at that on a case by case basis.
sure.
You know, if we've got a charity that needs, say, for instance, the Hold the Line workshop, and they say, well, that's a bit expensive, you know, $1,600. You know, our budget's only, say, for courses, our budget's only like 600. You know, I'd gladly work alongside that. I'd work with that for them because, like I say, our main thing is to make sure that it is accessible to everyone. Obviously, I just want to specify that is just for charities, not businesses as a whole, but just charities because, again, it's just like wanting to make sure that it is accessible.
What so you mentioned facilitators around the UK that you have or are working towards. What do you look for in facilitators?
So the main thing that we look for in regards to facilitators is they need to have lived experience. And it's not necessarily lived experience like they are specifically struggling with mental health now, or they're in the crux of a mental health crisis. That's not the lived experience that we need, because that person would not be able to facilitate a workshop because someone in the workshop that they're delivering it to could say something that could trigger them. And the last thing we want is anyone to be triggered, whether that be the facilitator or whether it be any of the people that we're delivering the workshop to. So someone that's been in my position, that has gone through stuff in the past, and they're now at a stage where they are fully grounded. And you know what, they think, you know what, I want to give back. I want people, I want to be able to help people that are going through what I've been through. I want people that I can pull them away from the bridge. So that's what I'm looking for. It's, you know, they've gone through the fire, they've come out the other side. They're happy enough to talk about their experience, and you know, they're fully grounded where they are now. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for any professional experience. I'm not looking for, you know, someone, oh, I've got 10 years experience in public speaking. I don't care about that. All I care about is that lived experience.
Sure.
And that's essentially what I'm looking for. I don't care what your background is, whether you've done X, Y, or Z. If you're a good person and you've gone through the fire and you want to make a difference, by all means, I will let you be a facilitator and I will let you make that difference.
So how many facilitators do you have currently?
At the minute, so we've only just used the facilitators for our emotional regulation for Fighters workshop. So that's a collaboration workshop, and that's what gave me the idea of using the facilitators. So yeah, that's our normal workshops, but the one beside it's our collaborations. So we've got 2 facilitators in Northern Ireland. We've got 2 facilitators in Manchester, and then myself and Carl will be a facilitator in Liverpool. So that is going to be kicking off at the start of February. So our emotional regulation for fighters. So that's another collaboration that we have with Soul Survivor PTSD support. But yeah, we have the facilitators for the emotional regulation for fighters, which will start in February. It's all ready to go now. And it's just given me the idea of the facilitator aspect, pushing it out into our main workshops. And really it allows us to have more of an impact.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Well, while we're here, what are the collaboration workshops?
So at the minute, we've got 2 collaboration workshops. The one you can see there, which is the reset and release. So it's with Soul Survivor PTSD support. They have a CPD accredited key work in PTSD. So we call it reset and release. So reset is it's for frontline staff and charities resetting their knowledge of, you know, how to understand PTSD, etc. So the morning session will be all about that and giving them the skills and the knowledge and how to manage people that are suffering PTSD, how to spot it. And then the afternoon part of that would be our art of letting go. So that's going to be about the emotional release and the resilience as well. So it's given an all-round sort of experience for the staff. So it allows them to reset their knowledge, and it allows them to release, so they're not, again, carrying everything. That's the After the Bell workshop that I was talking about. So that's the emotional regulation for fighters. So it's helping fighters how to deal with, you know, coming off the back of a loss or going out and getting injured, the adrenaline come down, etc. Because, you know, a lot of fighters will, you know, they'll come out after a loss and they'll be really dejected, but the coach can't do anything because they're getting the next fighter ready to go on. So it's really just about, and I mean, we had I think not a couple of months ago where Ricky Hatton, you know, he committed suicide. He was I don't know whether you know him, but he was a very famous boxer from Manchester. But yeah, he was a very famous boxer from Manchester. He was getting ready for an in-ring return. He had everything. He had the mansion. He had the car. But he ended up committing suicide. And it really hit the boxing community very, very hard. And it made me and Carl sit down. And I mean, Carl's an ex-fighter himself, so I'll always collaborate with people that have expertise in that area. So Carl himself, he's fought all around the world. But he said there's nothing to support these fighters and what they're dealing with mentally. And we sort of sat down and we sort of talked about it, and I sort of put the framework together for it, and he sort of put his bits into it as well. And I'm speaking to one of our facilitators is Ian Mahood. He's a gym owner in Northern Ireland. He's an ex-fighter himself, and he said there's nothing out there for that. He said it's something that's needed as well, because especially if you've got a fighter that goes out injured, they can't even go to the gym, especially young fighters as well. They'll end up turning to drink or drugs and stuff like that, and you know, it ends up going on a downward spiral, and again it affects their mental health. So this is why we've put this together to try and help that, and to try and ensure that a lot of especially the young fighters as well, they stay the course, and they don't get affected mentally, you know, in a negative sort of way. So yeah, that's why that one was put together.
Nice. So what are your prices on both of these?
So with the one we've got with the PTSD support, that one, so that is a full day session, 8 hours, and that is £1,000. And we can facilitate up to about 11 members of staff. With the emotional regulation, for fighters, we could probably facilitate about 20 to 30 fighters. That's a 4-hour session, and that includes a coaches section as well. So we'll give the coaches the tools as well to support the fighters, and that's £500.
Gotcha. Awesome. These cover a very interesting spectrum of people. I know. I mean,
it's something that I've been criticised for in the past. So speaking to he was a business mentor. He wasn't my business mentor, but he was a business mentor. And he said you need just one flagship workshop that covers everything. And I said, no, I don't. I said, because like I've said, it's not one glove fits all.
Right.
So I'm not going to change how I do things, because I need to make sure that when someone goes on the website, there needs to be something for everyone. And if anyone's struggling, there needs to be something that, oh, do you know what? I might actually be able to do that one, or I might be able to do that one. There needs to be something for everyone. It's not one glove fits all. So, what that business mentor told to me, I disregarded it 100%.
And honestly, I think it's great. I mean, it's something that literally anybody can get on here and find something.
Yeah.
And going back to, everybody's different. Everybody benefits from something different, and it's just the ability to be able to help everybody that is the key.
Oh no, 100%. And like I say, we've got obviously the podcast and everything on there as well. So I know at the side of the menu you can hit the free buttons and it scrolls down for all the other options as well.
Okay. You have youth workshops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so youth workshops is something that we've just started. Because again, I feel that prevention is better than cure.
Sure.
So I think with a lot of kids, and I think it goes back to my experience as well, when I was dealing with stuff as a child and going into the high school element of things, I wasn't able to process them emotions. And then you've got other things that come on top of that. You've got exams, you've got peer pressure, and nowadays you've got social media, which all can affect you mentally. So I want to be able to nip things in the bud earlier to stop it becoming an issue later on. Because the amount of children that you speak to, if you speak to like 17, 18-year-olds, I think in the UK, and I was told this statistic today, in the UK, about 7% of 17 to 18-year-olds have tried already to take their own life.
Really?
And that's quite, I know 7% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of kids. And if that statistic, if nothing's done at that age, when they become adults, they're going to, obviously, if nothing's done, they're going to try again. And that statistic increases the statistic of male and female suicides in adults. Sure. So I personally feel that doing stuff earlier on, again, as prevention rather than cure, will, in the long term, help that suicide statistic come down. If we're tackling people when they're between 12 to 17-year-olds, and they're able to process their emotions better, they're able to regulate themselves better. Years down the line, I'm not saying that it'll make a big difference, but it'll make a difference, and that's all I'm worried about, is making a difference. That statistic for adult suicides will gradually go down.
Sure. So what is, how long is the youth workshop, and what's the price on it?
So the youth workshop, and say with that, it will be 8 hours again. Again, that can be split over 2 days, or that can be, condensed down to 4 hours. I'm going to do a half day. Again, I don't like condensing stuff down to like 1 hour sessions or anything like that, because there is a lot of reflection that goes into it. There is a lot of giving the children the time to understand how their body reacts, how, if they're having an anxiety attack, how it shows up in the body first. Whether that be your breathing getting shallower, you're sweating, your palms are sweaty, or, your jaw's clenched. And it's giving them that time to understand it as well. But I don't want to rush through it, because they won't take it in. But if we give them time where they can sit down and think, and they can, well, actually my body does this. So, yeah, I've always been one to say I'm not going to get a streamlined workshop for anyone, because it just will not. I'll just be talking for the sake of talking. So, yeah, and in regards to the price at the minute, because it's in regards to schools, the price, we haven't fully set the price yet. But I'm probably looking at about maybe like we could facilitate maybe 40 to 50 kids. But we would do that for about £700 for like schools and stuff.
Okay. Nice. I like that aspect, being the proactivity of how that would fall into the spectrum of things.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, it's just, and again, it's because I've got such an issue with the government being so reactive and not proactive. Again, it comes down to obviously me being proactive and trying to stop things earlier on before they progress. Because if they can regulate their emotions early on, when they turn into when it goes into adulthood and other things do happen, they know how to regulate themselves. They know how to understand their emotions. They know how to deal with things, which again is going to help them long term.
Absolutely. So I'm on the regular workshops here.
Yeah.
If you want to go over those a little.
Yeah. So I mean, I've tried using a lot of different methods and different stuff to try and help. So we've got the resilient reset as well. So I've used that for soul survivor PTSD support. So we use a little bit of reframing and your inner narrative, and we'll use lots of different, give them grounding techniques and grounding tools, because these people are more resilient than they give themselves credit for. So every one of our core workshops, we will personalize for depending who we're delivering them to. So with the resilience reset, we personalize that for obviously the PTSD soul survivor. Breathe to balance is all about understanding your breathing, and a lot of breath work involved in that as well. Because I ended up getting my breath work qualification. So I do quite a lot with the breath work. And again, these can all be adapted to anyone. So it's not just a bog standard workshop. I will always personalize each workshop for whoever I'm delivering them to.
Sure. My
personal favorite, Write to Rise, because obviously I'm quite big in regards to the writing aspect of things, and that's how I started as a teenager. I find writing very, very good. And especially when it comes to reframing your story, if you're dealing with something and you write it down, you can write it down, oh, I'm a failure. But then you can reframe that and say, you know what, I'm having a bad day today, but I've got a roof over my head. I'm still doing everything that I need to on a day-to-day basis. My daughter's well looked after. I'm looking after my daughter. I'm going out and, putting one foot in front of the other. I'm not a failure. Tomorrow will be better. You reframe everything, and it's something that I love doing. I love writing and love being able to change the narrative of things and being able to look at things in different ways. So that's my personal favorite.
I can see why.
The art of letting go. Again, you don't need to be an artist to do it. It's all about doodling and stuff like that. And again, it sort of comes to like reframing. It's more of a visual aspect of things. So if you draw things in a more visual aspect, you will see who's in your inner circle, who's in your outer circle, what drains your energy, what gives you energy, and it's being more of a visual aspect as well. And it's a lot more engaging as well, because people like drawing and like doodling. Sometimes people will doodle without even knowing what they're doing.
Sure.
So we try to use like an art aspect as well.
Okay.
Thriving to surviving. And again, that's, going from, just getting by every single day, and, dragging yourself through the day. And then just, again, it's giving you the chance to be kinder to yourself, show a lot more gratitude, be grateful for what you've got, and, be a lot more thankful for what you've been through as well. But every single workshop that we do will always give you body first grounding tools. It will give you them tools that you can take away that day, that you can use on it every single day. Story of strength. The writing was so good I had to do it twice. So yeah, this is just being able to write your story, how it comes out straight from your head, and just reframing that story completely, and just really giving people the opportunity to actually see, when they write it down, how strong they actually are. You know, being able to, when you look at it, when you write it down, what they've actually been through, they're quite shocked themselves.
Sure.
And it's just showing that
process it. They don't actually
Yeah.
understand what they've been through just thinking about it. But when you
Yeah.
actually write it down and sit back and look at it, it puts it into perspective.
100%. 100%. But yeah, that's again, it's a writing one, so I could
Sure.
talk about that for hours. I absolutely love that. Burnout Recovery Lab. So this primarily it would focus on staff, but again, it could be people on a day-to-day basis just feeling burnt out. They feel like they're not getting anywhere. They're walking through quicksand. They just feel constantly exhausted, and it's giving them the chance to put them boundaries in place, to not giving too much. So that's there for them. And then connection circles, which would be like a group talking session. It's for them and people that isolate quite a bit, and just to get them out a lot more. So I don't disregard talking therapies or anything like that. I don't, because it does help some people. But if we have like group sessions where you've got a lot of similar people who would automatically think that they're the only ones that feel that way, but then if they're talking amongst each other, they'll realize that they're not feeling that way. They can share best practices. I can give them best practices. And again, we'll always have body first grounding tools as well, and grounding techniques.
Gotcha.
And then our everyday well-being toolkit, it's to make sure everyone is keeping themselves in tip-top shape, making sure they have the boundaries, and make sure that, you know, they're doing their emotional check-ins, the gratitudes, making sure they're doing their self-care, and that's just making sure they have a full toolkit for every single day, the journaling, etc.
When you said that you wanted to make sure that everybody had something,
Yes.
I was quickly looking as I went down the list of these, and there's literally something for everyone.
Yes, that is the plan. And like I say, if you have a business person come in and look at it, they'll say, well, no, you just need one core one. I say, no, I don't.
Right. There's a lot.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Quadcast.
Remember, breaking stigma doesn't stop when the episode ends. We're building a movement, and you're a part of it. Stay strong, stay aware, and stay connected.
And this is the Quadcast, signing out.